At some point in our lives, we all find ourselves asking, who am I really, or how far can I go? These questions, so simple yet profound, mark the beginning of a journey that is unique to each of us. At their core, they are a quest to understand our true potential, to discover what we are truly capable of achieving. However, often what prevents us from exploring new opportunities and venturing into unknown territories isn't a lack of ability, but a lack of self-confidence. We get stuck in comfort zones that, as safe as they may seem, end up limiting us. It's like living in a familiar space that's too small, where we know we could do more, but something holds us back. Without self-confidence, it's easy to start underestimating our own abilities and settling for much less than we truly deserve. Discovering and reaching our potential isn't just about achieving goals or hitting targets. It's much more than that. It's about diving into a process of self-discovery, where we need the courage to face our fears, the resilience to overcome challenges, and perhaps the most difficult of all, the willingness to question those limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. It's intriguing to think that the key to a more fulfilling and meaningful life is actually within us, just waiting for the right moment to be discovered and explored. Chapter 1: Core Beliefs and Their Implications. Since we were children, we've been like sponges, absorbing everything around us, the words we hear, the experiences we live, and even the things we miss out on. Over time, all these influences start to form the foundation of what we believe about ourselves and the world. These beliefs, buried deep in our minds, are called core beliefs. They are like lenses through which we view everything that happens in our lives. Think of a person who, since childhood, always heard from their parents that you need to improve, you could have done better, or you're not trying hard enough. This person may grow up with the belief that they are never good enough, that something is always lacking. And the worst part? They may carry this belief for their entire life, affecting how they view their own achievements and even how they deal with others. Core beliefs are these deeply rooted ideas about who we are and how the world works. And they don't appear out of nowhere. They are built over time, based on our experiences, especially in childhood, when we are most vulnerable to what happens around us. If a boy is constantly criticized by his parents, for example, he might end up believing that he is a failure, that he is worthless. And this belief can shape all the decisions he makes later in life. But not all core beliefs are negative. Some are positive and give us strength, like the belief that I can overcome challenges. These beliefs push us forward, giving us the confidence to face whatever comes our way. On the other hand, negative core beliefs do the opposite. They hold us back, make us doubt ourselves, and can even prevent us from trying. An example of a negative belief would be I'll never be good enough. When someone believes this, any criticism, no matter how small, can be devastating. Compliments are dismissed, as if the person simply can't believe they deserve anything good. To understand how these beliefs work in daily life, imagine a young person who believes that no one truly cares about me. They might start acting defensively, pushing people away before they have a chance to get close. After all, if no one really cares, why should they open up or trust anyone? This type of belief can transform the way they relate to others and themselves. They might start thinking that the problem is with them, that they are not interesting or valuable enough for people to want to stick around. And so, the belief reinforces itself, creating a cycle that's hard to break. Beliefs of worthlessness are a specific type of negative core belief, and they are particularly destructive. They make the person feel unworthy of love, success, or happiness. Let's imagine someone who believes that I don't deserve to be loved. This person might, unconsciously, get involved in bad relationships or even avoid relationships because, deep down, they don't believe anyone could truly love them. Or, when someone shows interest in them, they might become suspicious, thinking that person will soon be disappointed and leave. The impact of these beliefs of worthlessness is immense. In relationships, they can create invisible barriers, where the person protects themselves from the fear of rejection by pushing away those who try to get close. And it doesn't stop there. In self-esteem, these beliefs can erode self-confidence, making the person believe they are not good enough, that they don't deserve the good things that happen in their life. And when something bad happens, the belief strengthens, as if it were a confirmation that I knew it, I'm not good enough. But how do we discover what these beliefs are? Since they aren't always on the surface, it takes some effort and reflection to identify them. A good starting point is to pay attention to our automatic thoughts, those that come to mind without us even realizing it. Often, these thoughts reflect our core beliefs. For example, if you fail at something and the first thought that comes up is "I knew it wouldn't work, I'm a failure," this might be a sign that you have a deeply rooted belief of worthlessness. Techniques of self-reflection, like journaling or practicing meditation, can also help. When you allow yourself a moment of silence and introspection, you can start to notice patterns in your thoughts and behaviors. Why do I react this way? Why do I always feel this way in certain situations? These questions can reveal a lot about the beliefs that are guiding your actions. Therapy is also a powerful tool for identifying and challenging these beliefs. A therapist can help you explore your past, identify the experiences that shaped your core beliefs, and work to change those that are holding you back from living fully. Sometimes, all we need is someone to help us see things from a different angle, to challenge those truths we've taken for granted for so long. There are also practical exercises that can help modify these beliefs. One of them is the belief challenge. In this exercise, you choose a negative belief you have about yourself and try to find evidence that challenges it. For example, if you believe that "I'm not good enough," you could start listing all the things you've achieved, all the times you've been praised, all the situations where you've proven to yourself that you're capable. Gradually, you might start to see that that belief isn't as true as it seemed. Another exercise is Socratic questioning, where you ask yourself questions to explore and challenge the validity of your belief. Is this belief always true? Is there any situation where it doesn't apply? What would be the consequences of continuing to believe this? And if I stopped believing this idea, how would my life be? These methods may seem simple, but they are powerful tools for changing how you see yourself and the world around you. After all, our core beliefs are the foundation of everything we think, feel, and do. If you can transform the beliefs that limit you, you can start building a life more aligned with who you really want to be. And remember, changing a core belief doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it's okay if it takes time. The important thing is to start, to take the first step toward a more positive and empowering view of yourself. After all, we are all a work in progress, and it's never too late to start building a stronger and healthier foundation. Chapter 2: The Formation of Beliefs. From the moment we are born, we begin to be shaped by our experiences. Every interaction, every word, every look we receive contributes to the construction of beliefs that, often, accompany us throughout our lives. These beliefs don't form overnight, they are built from our experiences, especially during the early years of life, and they become stronger over time. The earliest life experiences are crucial for the formation of our core beliefs. Imagine a baby who, when crying, is promptly attended to by their parents. This baby begins to believe that the world is a safe place where their needs will be met. Now, think of a baby who, when crying, is ignored or receives a delayed response. This baby may start to develop the belief that their needs aren't important or that the world is an unpredictable and unsafe place. These early interactions, which may seem insignificant to an adult, are the foundation upon which future beliefs will be built. As we grow, we go through various experiences that continue to shape our beliefs. Traumas and significant events, for example, have a profound impact on how we perceive ourselves and the world. A child who is bullied at school may develop the belief that they are unlovable or that they will always be rejected. A teenager who loses a loved one suddenly may begin to believe that life is unpredictable and full of pain. These events deeply mark the mind and often shape behaviors that persist into adulthood. Memory plays a fundamental role in the construction of beliefs. Our memories, whether positive or negative, reinforce the ideas we have about ourselves and the world. If someone has a series of memories of success, where their abilities were recognized and celebrated, they are likely to develop a belief that they are competent and capable. On the other hand, if the predominant memories are of failures or moments when they felt inadequate, the core belief that may arise is that they will never be good enough. During childhood and adolescence, parents and caregivers play a central role in the formation of these beliefs. They are the first figures of authority and, often, the first sources of positive or negative reinforcement. If parents are loving, encouraging, and present, the child tends to develop a positive view of themselves and the world. They learn that they are worthy of love, that their opinions are valued, and that their actions have consequences. However, if parents are critical, absent, or inconsistent, the child may begin to believe that they are unimportant, that they don't deserve love, or that the world is an unpredictable place. Peers in school also have a significant influence on the development of beliefs. During adolescence, the desire for belonging is extremely strong, and the opinions of friends can deeply shape beliefs and self-esteem. If a teenager is accepted and valued by their peers, they may develop a belief that they are sociable and well-liked. But if they are constantly excluded or ridiculed, they may begin to believe that there is something wrong with them, that they are not good enough to be loved or accepted. The experiences of childhood and adolescence not only shape core beliefs but also have a lasting impact on adult life. A person who grew up believing that their opinions don't matter may, in adulthood, struggle to express themselves or set boundaries in their relationships. Someone who was always praised for their academic achievements may grow up with a belief that their worth is directly tied to their performance, which can lead to debilitating perfectionism. The process of belief formation is strongly influenced by the reinforcements we receive throughout life. Positive reinforcements, such as praise, rewards, and recognition, tend to strengthen behaviors and beliefs associated with them. For example, if a child receives praise every time they behave responsibly, they are likely to develop the belief that being responsible is good and desirable. These positive reinforcements help build a strong and healthy self-image. On the other hand, negative reinforcements, such as constant criticism, punishment, or neglect, can lead to the strengthening of negative core beliefs. If a child is constantly criticized for their mistakes and rarely receives recognition for their achievements, they may develop the belief that they never do anything right. This belief, reinforced over time, can manifest in self-sabotaging behaviors, where the person avoids challenges out of fear of failure or becomes excessively self-critical. In everyday life, positive and negative reinforcements are present in various situations. Imagine a young person who, upon completing a task at work, receives positive feedback from their boss. This positive reinforcement can help strengthen their confidence and belief that they are competent in their job. On the other hand, if the same young person is constantly ignored or criticized without acknowledgement of their efforts, they may start to doubt their abilities and develop a belief that they will never be good enough, no matter how hard they try. These examples illustrate how our daily interactions contribute to shaping and reinforcing our core beliefs. It is these experiences, accumulated over time, that build the foundation of our perception of ourselves and the world around us. And while many of these beliefs may have deep roots, it's important to remember that they are not unchangeable. With awareness, reflection, and sometimes external support, it is possible to reevaluate and, if necessary, reframe the beliefs that no longer serve our well-being and growth. The formation of beliefs is an ongoing process, influenced by a variety of factors throughout life. From the earliest experiences in childhood, through interactions in adolescence, and the positive or negative reinforcements we receive along the way, each of these experiences contributes to the construction of the beliefs we carry. These beliefs, in turn, shape not only how we see ourselves but also how we relate to the world and others. And while some of these beliefs strengthen us, others can limit us, highlighting the importance of being aware of them and willing to question them when necessary. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Your subscription helps us keep creating content with love and dedication. Chapter 3: The Impact of the Environment. When we talk about the human mind, we often focus on internal factors like genetics and personality. However, the environment around us plays a crucial role in shaping who we are, influencing even the development of psychiatric disorders. The environment, whether familial, social, or cultural, can be a protective factor or a risk factor, shaping our mental health in profound and sometimes unexpected ways. living in a dysfunctional environment can significantly increase the risk of developing psychiatric disorders. An environment where there is constant tension, conflict, or abuse can create fertile ground for the emergence of anxiety, depression, and other disorders. Imagine a child growing up in a home where there are constant fights, severe criticism, or even violence. This child not only absorbs the stress of the environment but may also internalize these experiences as reflections of their own identity. Over time, this can lead to the development of negative core beliefs, such as "I am not safe" or "I am not worthy of love," which are deeply connected to disorders like depression. On the other hand, a healthy and supportive environment can act as a powerful protective factor against the development of psychiatric disorders. Environments where there is love, security, and encouragement help build a solid foundation of self-esteem and emotional resilience. Even if a person faces adversity, the support of a positive environment can provide the emotional tools needed to cope with challenges in a healthy way. Factors such as the presence of supportive figures, economic stability, and the absence of abuse or neglect are crucial in this regard. Case studies over the years have clearly demonstrated how the environment can influence mental health. In one study, for example, researchers examined children who grew up in abusive environments versus those who grew up in stable and loving homes. The children in the first group showed significantly higher rates of disorders like anxiety and depression in adulthood. In contrast, the children in the second group, even when faced with difficulties, had a greater ability to overcome trauma and adapt, thanks to the positive environment in which they grew up. The role of friendships and family relationships also cannot be underestimated when discussing the impact of the environment. Friendships, especially during adolescence, are fundamental in shaping identity. It is common to see young people adopt behaviors, tastes, and even beliefs from their groups of friends. If the circle of friends is healthy, encouraging, and positive, it can help the young person develop strong self-esteem and explore their identity in a safe way. On the other hand, toxic or negative friendships can have the opposite effect, leading to the formation of a distorted self-image and the adoption of harmful behaviors. Family relationships also play a central role in building self-esteem and self-confidence. Parents and caregivers who demonstrate love, support, and acceptance help build a sense of self-worth in their children. These young people grow up with the feeling that they are important, loved, and capable. Conversely, family relationships characterized by constant criticism, rejection, or lack of support can undermine self-confidence, leading to a sense of inadequacy and insecurity that can last a lifetime. When we think about strategies for choosing friendships that promote personal growth, the first step is awareness. It's essential to be mindful of the impact our friends have on us. Ask yourself, does this friendship make me feel good about myself? Does it encourage me to be a better version of myself? If the answer is yes, this is probably a friendship worth cultivating. But if the answer is no, it may be time to reconsider the value of that relationship. Friendships that promote growth are those that challenge us to become better, that offer support in difficult times, and that celebrate our successes without envy. A striking example of the impact of the environment on a person's development is the case of Elon Musk. Musk, one of the most innovative and influential entrepreneurs of our time, is often cited as an example of how the environment can shape creativity and success. From an early age, Musk was exposed to an environment that stimulated his curiosity and encouraged critical thinking. His mother, Mae Musk, always encouraged him to read and explore new knowledge, which fueled his imagination and desire to create something new. The environment in which Musk grew up was also marked by challenges. He faced bullying at school and grew up in a complicated family context, which he said was painful but also strengthened him and motivated him to prove his worth. These difficult experiences, rather than limiting him, seem to have contributed to his resilience and determination. Musk learned to deal with adversity early on, which likely prepared him to face the many challenges that would arise in his professional life. The stimulating environment in which Musk was raised, full of books, intellectual debates, and challenges, is a key factor that contributed to the development of his creativity. He grew up in an environment where exploration and innovation were valued, which allowed him to develop the skills needed to think innovatively. The lesson here is clear: an environment that promotes curiosity, offers challenges, and supports the exploration of new ideas can be a powerful catalyst for creativity and success. What we can learn from Musk's environment is that, while we may not always control the adversities we face, we can strive to create an environment that supports our growth and development. Whether by choosing friends who inspire us, creating a physical space that stimulates us, or cultivating a mindset of continuous learning, the environment around us has the power to shape who we are and what we can achieve. Understanding the impact of the environment is essential for those seeking personal growth and mental health. The environment we live in, the people we surround ourselves with, and the experiences we choose to engage in directly influence our perception of ourselves and the world. By becoming aware of these influences, we can make more informed and proactive decisions to create an environment that helps us thrive and live up to our fullest potential. Chapter 4: The Interaction Between Genetics and Environment. The complexity of human behavior has always intrigued scientists, philosophers, and anyone seeking to understand what makes us who we are. One of the main debates in this field involves the relationship between genetics and the environment. To what extent does our genetics determine our behavior? And what role does the environment play in shaping or modifying these innate tendencies? When we talk about genetics, it's important to understand the difference between genetic predisposition and genetic determinism. Genetic predisposition refers to the tendency a person may have to develop certain traits or behaviors based on their genetic makeup. For example, someone may have a genetic predisposition to be extroverted, but that doesn't mean they will inevitably be extroverted regardless of the circumstances. Genetic determinism, on the other hand, suggests that our genes control who we are and how we act, which, in practice, is a simplistic and incorrect view of genetic influence. Genetics and behavior are closely linked, but this link is neither direct nor deterministic. Our genes can influence a variety of behavioral traits, such as the tendency towards aggression, shyness, creativity, and even emotional resilience. For example, studies show that some individuals have a genetic predisposition to be more sensitive to stress, which may manifest in anxious behaviors or intense reactions in stressful situations. However, the presence of a specific gene does not guarantee that a particular behavior will manifest. The environment plays a crucial role in the expression of these genes. A clear example of how genetic predispositions can manifest is the case of aggression. Research indicates that certain genetic variants are associated with a greater propensity for aggression. However, if a person with this predisposition grows up in a stable, loving environment with good models of emotional management, this predisposition may never manifest negatively. On the other hand, if the same individual grows up in a violent or neglectful environment, aggression may be triggered and amplified. This point brings us to the question of the interaction between genetics and environment, often described as nature versus nurture. In reality, these two factors are not opposites but rather complementary. Human behavior is the result of a continuous dance between our genes and the environment we live in. For example, a child with a genetic predisposition to introversion may become more or less introverted depending on the environment in which they grow up. In an environment that values sociability and offers opportunities for safe social interactions, this child may learn to engage more socially, even if their genetic predisposition leans towards introversion. A case that exemplifies this interaction well is the studies on identical twins, who share the same genetic makeup. Even twins raised together can develop different personalities and behaviors if they have distinct environmental experiences. If one of the twins, for example, faces a series of traumatic events in adolescence while the other has a more peaceful life experience, it's possible that the first one develops more anxious or defensive behaviors, even with the same genetic predisposition as the sibling. This leads us to debunk some myths about genetic determinism in human behavior. One of the biggest misconceptions is believing that our genes seal our fate, that we are programmed to be a certain way, and that the environment has little or no role in this. The reality is that, while our genes provide the raw material for our characteristics, it is the environment that often shapes how those characteristics will be expressed. This is why identical twins, or even common siblings, can have such different personalities and behaviors depending on their life experiences. Genetics can indeed facilitate or hinder certain behaviors, but never in isolation. Take creativity as an example. Some people may have a genetic predisposition for creative thinking, which manifests in a natural interest in arts, inventions, or innovative solutions to problems. However, if this person grows up in an environment that doesn't value or encourage creativity, they may never fully develop this trait. Conversely, an environment that stimulates curiosity, offers access to creative resources, and encourages artistic expression can enhance this genetic predisposition, allowing creativity to flourish. Similarly, traits like aggression can be mitigated or exacerbated by the environment. Someone with a genetic predisposition to aggression can learn to control and channel this energy constructively if they grow up in an environment that teaches self-control skills and offers positive examples of conflict resolution. However, without these positive environmental influences, aggression can become a problem, leading to destructive behaviors. Given this, the question arises, how can we create environments that favor desirable behaviors, considering genetic predispositions? The key lies in recognizing a person's natural inclinations and creating an environment that enhances the best in these predispositions while mitigating the more challenging aspects. For example, for someone with a predisposition to creativity, an environment rich in artistic stimuli, opportunities for experimentation, and encouragement for innovative thinking will be essential. For someone with a tendency towards aggression, creating an environment that values open communication, offers emotional support, and teaches anger management techniques can make all the difference. Understanding the interaction between genetics and environment allows us to have a more balanced and realistic view of human behavior. Our genetic predispositions are like an initial map, but it is the environment that often determines the route we will follow. By creating environments that nurture our potentials and offer support where needed, we can achieve more full and balanced personal development, regardless of the genetic predispositions we carry. Chapter 5: Cognitive Distortions and Worldview. Have you ever stopped to think about how sometimes our minds deceive us? The way we perceive things around us isn't always an accurate representation of reality. This happens because of cognitive distortions, which are like tricks our minds play to simplify things, but they end up distorting how we see the world. And the most interesting part is that these distortions can affect us in subtle ways, and often, we don't realize the impact they have on our decisions, emotions, and relationships. Cognitive distortions are thought patterns that make us see reality in a way that isn't quite accurate. They act as filters, distorting or exaggerating certain aspects of our experiences, which can lead us to wrong conclusions or disproportionate reactions. For example, imagine you receive constructive feedback on a project at work. If you're prone to a cognitive distortion like all-or-nothing thinking, you might interpret this feedback as a total critique of your work, thinking, "Nothing I do is good," even though most of your actions were positive and praised. This type of distortion can have a huge impact on our daily lives, especially when it comes to making decisions. When we blindly believe in these distortions, we risk making choices based on distorted perceptions rather than real facts. A classic example is the cognitive distortion known as catastrophizing, where the person always expects the worst possible outcome. If you have an important meeting and, even before entering the room, you're already thinking, "Everything will go wrong, they'll hate my presentation," this perception can undermine your confidence and, ironically, lead to a performance below your potential. These distortions aren't limited to isolated situations, they can influence how we see ourselves and how we interpret others' behavior. A person who constantly engages in cognitive distortions may develop a pessimistic and self-critical worldview, which can lead to anxiety, depression, and difficulties in interpersonal relationships. When you believe that everything goes wrong or that no one cares, this shapes how you react to daily situations, reinforcing these negative beliefs and making it harder to see things in a balanced way. The core beliefs we carry, those fundamental ideas about ourselves and the world, also play a crucial role in how we see and interpret reality. They are like lenses through which we view everything. If you deeply believe that I'm not good enough, this belief will influence how you interpret every interaction, every comment, and every experience you have. For example, if someone doesn't respond to your message right away, you might think, they don't like me or I must have done something wrong, when in reality, the person might just be busy. These core beliefs can distort our perception of reality in ways we don't always realize. One example of this is when you're convinced that people are always judging you. This can lead you to interpret casual looks as judgmental stares or to assume that neutral or positive comments have a hidden negative tone. This makes you constantly live in a state of alert, feeling inadequate or rejected, even when there's no concrete evidence for it. Another common example of how core beliefs distort reality is emotional reasoning, where a person believes that if they feel a certain way, it must be true. For example, if you feel guilty about something, even without having done anything wrong, you might start to believe that you really did something wrong simply because the feeling of guilt is present. This distortion can lead to a life governed by negative emotions rather than by facts and evidence. Fortunately, there are techniques that can help us adjust or correct these distorted lenses of interpretation. One of them is cognitive restructuring, where you learn to identify distorted thoughts and replace them with more balanced and realistic perceptions. For example, if you notice that you're thinking catastrophically about a future situation, you can ask yourself, what's really happening? What are the concrete facts? And if the worst doesn't happen, how would I feel? These simple questions can help take the power away from these distortions and bring a more balanced view. The practice of meditation and mindfulness can also be helpful. By cultivating the ability to observe your thoughts without judgment, you start to notice when a cognitive distortion is emerging, allowing you to question it before it takes over your mind. This creates space to respond more consciously and less automatically to situations, helping to avoid the traps of cognitive distortions. Another very common cognitive distortion is cherry picking, or the tendency to select only the evidence that confirms our beliefs, ignoring the rest. This is something we all do, even without realizing it. For example, if you believe you're incompetent, you might focus exclusively on the mistakes you've made, completely ignoring the successes and compliments you've received. This habit reinforces the negative belief, even when the facts show a different reality. Cherry picking is like being in a supermarket and only choosing the spoiled fruits, even though most are good. By doing this, you only reinforce the idea that there are no good fruits when, in reality, there are plenty of fresh options. In our lives, we do the same with the evidence we select to confirm our negative beliefs. By ignoring or downplaying the positive aspects, we get stuck in a cycle of negativity that's hard to break. The effect of cherry picking isn't limited to our self-image, it can also influence how we see others and the world around us. If you believe the world is a dangerous place, you might end up focusing only on the negative news and ignoring the good deeds and acts of kindness that happen every day. This reinforces a cynical and hopeless worldview, which can lead to feelings of helplessness and disillusionment. So, how can we avoid cherry picking and develop a more balanced view? The key is to become more aware of our thought patterns and make a conscious effort to consider all the evidence, not just those that confirm our beliefs. This might mean, for example, keeping a journal where you note both the positive and negative aspects of a situation, forcing yourself to acknowledge the good sides you might be ignoring. Another strategy is to seek the opinion of someone you trust, someone who can offer a more objective perspective when you find yourself focusing only on the negative. Developing a regular practice of self-assessment can also help mitigate cherry picking. By taking time to reflect on your beliefs and compare your thoughts with objective reality, you can start to identify when you're selectively choosing evidence in a biased way. This doesn't mean you should ignore the negative aspects, but rather seek balance, recognizing that reality is complex and multifaceted. Understanding and adjusting these cognitive distortions can have a transformative impact on how we live our lives. When we start to question our distorted perceptions and see the world more clearly and balanced, we open up space for wiser decisions, healthier relationships, and, above all, a view of ourselves that is more compassionate and realistic. Our beliefs and perceptions shape our world, but we have the power to shape them too, creating an inner reality that supports and uplifts us instead of limiting us. Chapter 6: The Weight of Personal Relationships. Our personal relationships have a huge impact on our lives. They can be sources of joy, support, and growth, but they can also drag us down, leaving us insecure, stressed, and exhausted. Understanding the weight of these relationships and how they affect our mental and emotional health is essential to ensure we are surrounded by people who truly bring out the best in us. Let's start by talking about toxic relationships, those that do more harm than good. Sometimes it's hard to realize we're in a toxic relationship, especially when we're emotionally involved. A toxic relationship is one that drains you, makes you constantly feel bad about yourself, where criticism is constant, and where you feel manipulated or disrespected. This can happen in any type of relationship, with friends, family, coworkers, or even in romantic relationships. Some signs are quite clear. If you notice that after being with a certain person, you feel drained, depressed, or anxious, that's a red flag. If you're always walking on eggshells, afraid of being judged or criticized, or if the person tries to control your decisions and thoughts, it's likely you're dealing with a toxic relationship. Another sign is the lack of reciprocity, when you're always the one giving but never receiving support or affection in return. The consequences of maintaining a toxic relationship in your life can be devastating. These relationships can lead to mental health issues like anxiety and depression, and can even affect your self-esteem so deeply that you start doubting your worth. In the long run, being stuck in these relationships can isolate you, make you believe you don't deserve to be treated with respect, or that you don't have the right to be happy. But how do you distance yourself from a harmful relationship? First, it's important to recognize that you deserve more. This is a difficult step, especially when there's a strong emotional bond, but it's essential. Sometimes this means having a tough conversation, setting clear boundaries about what's acceptable or not. In some cases, it may be necessary to distance yourself completely, cut off contact, and prioritize your mental health. This may be painful at first, but in the long run, you'll feel much lighter and at peace. However, not every relationship with problems needs to end. Some can be adjusted over time and with open communication. What's important is that you have clarity about the impact this person has on your life and are willing to do what it takes to protect your well-being. Beyond dealing with toxic relationships, it's crucial to learn to filter out those relationships that, while not necessarily toxic, simply don't contribute to your growth. Sometimes we maintain friendships or relationships because they've always been there, but if these connections don't bring joy, support, or growth, it's important to reconsider the space they occupy in your life. To assess the quality of your relationships, ask yourself, does this person support my goals? Do they make me feel valued and respected? Do we share common values and interests? If the answer is no, it might be time to reassess that relationship. This doesn't mean you need to cut ties immediately, but perhaps it's time to prioritize those connections that truly add something positive to your life. To maintain relationships that foster your growth, it's important to be assertive, meaning expressing your needs and expectations clearly and respectfully. It's also vital to surround yourself with people who share your values and who are willing to support your development, celebrating your achievements rather than diminishing them. These relationships may require effort to maintain, but the benefits to your long-term well-being and success are immense. Cultivating these relationships that promote well-being and success isn't just about choosing wisely who you relate to, but also about how you relate. Invest time and energy in meaningful connections where there is a genuine exchange of support and mutual growth. This may mean letting go of some relationships that are no longer healthy, which can be difficult in the short term, but in the long term, it will make a huge difference in your happiness and personal fulfillment. Family also plays a fundamental role in our lives. It's within the family that many of our first beliefs and values are formed. From an early age, we absorb behaviors and attitudes from our parents and relatives, which shape the way we see the world and ourselves. For example, if you grew up in an environment where success was valued above all else, you're likely to carry this belief into adulthood, constantly striving to achieve goals and defining yourself by those accomplishments. On the other hand, if you grew up in an environment where criticism was constant or where you didn't feel loved, this can create beliefs of worthlessness and insecurity that follow you throughout your life. Dealing with negative family influences can be one of the most challenging tasks, especially because family is something we don't choose, but it has a deep impact on us. Sometimes it's hard to recognize that, although we love our family, the influences we've received from them aren't always positive. This doesn't mean we need to cut ties, but rather that we should establish healthy boundaries to protect our mental health. If certain family behaviors are negatively affecting you, it may be necessary to have frank conversations about how those attitudes impact you and what you expect to change. Maintaining a healthy relationship with family, especially when there are negative influences, requires patience, open communication, and in some cases, emotional distance. Setting clear boundaries about what you're willing to accept can help preserve your well-being. Sometimes this means learning not to absorb negative comments, practicing forgiveness, or simply accepting that certain people in your family won't change, but you can choose how to react to them. Creating and maintaining healthy relationships, both within and outside the family, is essential for a balanced and happy life. By understanding the impact these relationships have on you, you can make more conscious decisions about who you want to keep in your life and how you want those interactions to happen. Surrounding yourself with people who truly value you and encourage your growth is a crucial step towards achieving emotional well-being and personal success. Chapter 7: The Importance of Stepping Out of the Comfort Zone. We all have a comfort zone, that safe and familiar place where we feel at ease and in control. It's natural to want to stay in this space, as there we don't face risks or challenges that throw us off balance. However, it's important to recognize that while comfortable, this zone can become a sort of prison, limiting our growth and preventing us from exploring our full potential. The transition from a restricted environment to a larger world is an essential step for anyone seeking personal growth and fulfillment. Limiting environments, whether physical, emotional, or social, can restrict our development in subtle but powerful ways. When we are surrounded only by what we already know and understand, our worldview tends to narrow. We get stuck in patterns of thought and behavior that keep us stagnant, unable to see beyond the boundaries we've created for ourselves. An example of this can be found in people who, for years, have stayed in the same job, in the same city, surrounded by the same people. While this kind of stability has its advantages, it can also prevent new ideas, perspectives, and opportunities from entering our lives. It can make us believe that the world is small, predictable, and that there's nothing more to learn or experience. Exploring new environments and experiences can bring a refreshing sense of freedom and discovery. When we step out of our comfort zone, we are challenged to think differently, to adapt, and to grow. Imagine someone who, after years of working in a traditional company, decides to take a trip abroad or get involved in a volunteer project in a completely new area. This person might discover passions and skills they never considered before simply because they allowed themselves to step out of the familiar environment and venture into the unknown. The benefits of exploring new environments are numerous. Besides broadening our horizons, we become more resilient, learn to deal with the unexpected, and gain more confidence in our own abilities. Stepping out of the comfort zone also helps us develop a growth mindset, where we see challenges as learning opportunities rather than threats. A powerful example of how stepping out of the comfort zone can transform life is the story of a young man who, after years of working in an unsatisfying job, decided to quit everything to travel the world. At first, the fear of the unknown was overwhelming. He didn't know if he would be able to adapt, if he would succeed, or if he would end up failing. But along the journey, he discovered not only new cultures and landscapes but also a new version of himself, more confident, independent, and happy. This decision to step out of the comfort zone not only transformed his career but also how he saw himself and the world around him. But what makes these new experiences so transformative? Largely, it's because they have the power to redefine our beliefs. When we expose ourselves to new environments and situations, we are forced to question what we believe to be true about ourselves and the world. Perhaps you believe you're a shy and reserved person, but by challenging yourself to speak in public or lead a project, you might discover that you have a natural talent for communication. Or maybe you've always believed you're not creative, but by trying something new like painting or writing, you might realize there's an artist within you waiting to be discovered. Seeking experiences that challenge your beliefs is one of the most effective ways to promote personal growth. It's not easy, that's true. Often, it means facing the fear of failure or the discomfort of feeling vulnerable. But it's precisely in this space of vulnerability that real learning happens. When we allow ourselves to experience the new with an open mind, we can discover strengths we didn't know we had, or conversely, realize that some of the limitations we believed we had aren't as real as we thought. An example of how new experiences can change self-perception is the case of a person who has always been afraid of heights. For years, they avoided any activity that involved heights until one day, they decided to face this fear by taking a climbing course. At first, the fear was paralyzing, but over time and practice, they not only overcame the fear but also discovered they loved the feeling of being up high, seeing the world from a completely new perspective. This experience redefined how they saw themselves, no longer as someone dominated by fears, but as someone capable of overcoming them. To open yourself to new experiences and learn from them, some techniques can be helpful. First, it's important to adopt a curious mindset. Instead of seeing the new as something threatening, try to view it as a learning opportunity. Another technique is to start small. You don't need to make radical changes all at once. Small steps, like trying a new hobby, taking a short trip to an unfamiliar place, or simply changing up your routine, can be a great starting point. Finally, it's essential to be present in the moment, absorbing everything the new experience has to offer without clinging to rigid expectations. Friendships also play a crucial role in our ability to step out of the comfort zone and expand our horizons. The people we surround ourselves with have a huge influence on our worldview and our choices. Diverse friendships, including people with different backgrounds, opinions, and life experiences, can help us see the world from new perspectives and encourage us to explore the unknown. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge your ideas is one of the best ways to expand your mind. Friendships that make us question our beliefs, that encourage us to try new things, are invaluable. When we are surrounded by people who think differently from us, we are forced to reevaluate our own opinions, and often, we discover there's much more to learn and understand than we imagined. To build an enriching network of friendships, it's important to be open to meeting new people and valuing diversity. Participating in groups or activities that attract people with different interests is an excellent way to start. It's also important to cultivate empathy and active listening, being genuinely interested in what others have to say, even when their opinions differ from yours, can open doors to enriching conversations and valuable insights. Throughout life, stepping out of the comfort zone and exploring new horizons proves to be one of the most powerful ways to grow and develop as a person. New experiences shape us, redefine our beliefs, and broaden our worldview, while diverse friendships offer the support and encouragement needed to keep exploring. Although stepping out of the comfort zone may be scary at first, the benefits of venturing beyond the boundaries of the known are immense and lasting. In the end, you discover that the world is much bigger, richer, and more full of possibilities than you ever imagined. Getting to this point is, in itself, a sign that you are seeking something more for your life. And this search begins with understanding that the beliefs we hold are not immutable. They can be challenged, questioned, and most importantly, transformed. Maybe, at some point, we've internalized the idea that we're not good enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we're not capable of achieving our dreams. But these are just stories we've told ourselves. And the good news is, we can rewrite those stories. Therapy can be a valuable guide in this process, helping to unearth the roots of these beliefs and replace them with others that support us. But even outside the therapeutic environment, the work continues. True change happens in daily life, in small decisions, and in the new perspectives we choose to adopt. At the end of it all, what really matters is the will to keep growing, to move forward despite fears and uncertainties. And so, what seemed impossible or out of reach begins to become a reality. Over time, we discover that change is possible, that we are stronger than we imagined, and that we can indeed create a life that reflects the best of who we are. Thank you for sticking with us until the end. Your likes and subscription are very important to us. help us keep the books project alive and continue delivering high-quality content. Wishing you peace, and see you next time.